Welcome back to RedArmy.tv. International week, of course, so we have the break. No match to reflect on, no defeats to reflect on, thankfully. We'll get back to winning ways against Watford, I'm sure. In the studio, I'm really pleased to say, the first two names on Big Jack's team sheet at number 1, Jim Platt, number 2, John Craggs. Gents, absolute pleasure to have you in the studio. Thanks for taking time out to join us. Let's talk international weeks, because it has changed somewhat. Jim, you'll remember them, I'm sure, with great pride because of you pulling the Northern Ireland jersey on so many times. What are your memories in your days of international weeks?
Quite a few, actually, but in our day we didn't have a week off on a Saturday. I would have played on a Saturday and we'd have met up. Northern Ireland usually met up in London because most of the players were based in England. We'd meet up somewhere in London and if we were playing away. Sorry, if we were playing in Northern Ireland, we'd meet up in Belfast, but if we were playing away, we'd meet up in London. We'd fly out on a Monday to Romania or whatever, train Monday night, train at the stadium on Tuesday night, play the match on Wednesday, fly back on Thursday, get into training on Friday, and play again on Saturday.
Didn't get pampered then, like this day and age, where you have 10 days off and play a couple of games in between?
No, it was okay for me because I was on the bench most of the time. So
we'll come on to the mighty Pat Jennings a bit later on, Jim, just to annoy you. John, obviously you didn't get the big call up to the senior side. You were involved at the younger age groups. What were your memories of those times?
Oh, they were brilliant. I mean, some of the players I played with have gone on to be big stars. Trevor Brooking, Brian Kidd, Frank Lampard, senior, not junior. People like that, you know.
He should have got a call up to the senior squad, shouldn't he, Jim? He was one of them. He was one of the best fullbacks.
He was one of the best right backs at the time. Unfortunately, if he played now, he would have probably 50 caps because there's very few English players in the Premiership now. But in our day, England could have had 10 right backs. It could have had 10 goalkeepers all over the pitch. There's so many different players. Well,
your time, John, was just before Phil Neal made his mark with England, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You were just that handful of years before then. Yeah. So come on, I'll put Jim right on the spot. Here's some names for you then. Don Revie was in charge, wasn't he, at the time?
Yeah, one of the managers. Yeah.
So Steve Whitworth, Trevor Cherry, Dave Clement, Emily News, of course, all got run out. Jim, he was better than them all, wasn't he? John?
John was better than them. All of them.
Yeah, I think that was more of a specialist fullback, where you say Don Revie had a few of the Leeds players who were playing at right back. He would move them to centre half or midfield because he knew how to play, but you know, I didn't really get a look in.
Did it?
No.
Did it grind on your
thinking
really, about it?
No, I just concentrated on playing for Middlesbrough, and if it came along, all well and good, you know, but unfortunately it didn't. But it didn't. I wasn't sort of looking on, see if I was in the squad or anything like that.
How did it happen in those days, Jim? Did you get the phone call? I mean, you were a regular, like you say, you were fighting Pat Jennings for your place, but do you get phone calls to say, right, game's coming up in a couple of weeks, you're part of it?
No, I knew I'd be playing Dave.
Ah.
No, we got a letter actually.
That's right.
Did you?
Yeah, we got letters.
We got a letter a week. We just got a letter the week before.
Just saying, this game, attend, meet up this point.
Then we got our match fee about a month later, which was when I first came in the national team, it was £60, and it went up to £100.
It's still more than you're getting for appearing on here. No budget, I've told you. Just to wrap up this international week, we asked the fans whether international breaks are they useful for the borough or an inconvenience. What do you reckon the outcome would be?
If a team's doing badly, it's good. But if a team's doing well, then it's a bit of a break. Yeah. I suppose we're doing sort of semi-well, so.
Yeah, we were doing all right before that first international break, and then obviously this one we've not had a decent run. But anyway, the fans have come out with 68%, almost 70% saying it's an inconvenience, which I can understand because we like our footy and we want to keep seeing it. Let's move on to the era which a lot of people obviously still hold to this day with great pride. The 73-74 season. Big Jack's there. You two guys are regulars in the team. It was an amazing season. John, we'll start with you. I remember you. I'm old, you see. I remember you bombing up and down on the right-hand side. But we finished with a 15-point gap between ourselves and Luton that year. When you bear in mind it was only 2 points for a win, you're almost the Invincibles, weren't you? I mean, how good a team was it?
Well, it was, like you say, it was a team. But Jack always said to me, he said, yeah, you can get forward, but your main thing is be steady at the back. You know what I mean? If we don't concede any goals, we're halfway there. And that's what happened. But, you know, you've got to pick your time to go. You just don't run willy-nilly. You know, it's just, you get into a phase of sort of seeing where the ball's going to come, and you just go for it.
And did he have this knack of reminding you if you did get stranded up front?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Jim, what do you remember of that era?
We lost our first home match, you know.
That's right, yeah.
And up until then, Jack was nice, and we'd played a few friendlies in Scotland. Can't remember who we played against. We won and we did well. We went to Portsmouth, who had bought big that season, and we beat them 1-0. I think we were a bit lucky, but we won 1-0. And then we played Fulham at home, and Fulham beat us 2-0. And Jack went mad twice. He went mad and he walked out after the match, and then we met up again at Ellison Park on the Monday in the middle of a pitch, and he was talking to us and he said, I'm sorry I lost my temper, but he got talking again and lost it again and walked off. And he said, you either do it my way or not at all.
I can imagine him.
And then we won 23 games without getting beat after that. So we did it his way.
To this day, do you still look back on that fondly, or is it so far back in the past now?
Yeah, I mean, Jack was basically a player, and he just comes straight from Leeds, you know, and he's a winner at Leeds, and he didn't want to be a loser, whether he's a manager or not, but he was a winner, and he said to everybody, I'll tell you what I want. If you do it, great. If you try to do it, great. But if you don't do it, you're out. Simple as that.
So we won by fear, did we? That's
it's, you know, it was, and he had the nous to know what to do, to tell the players, and it was up to the players then to put it on and practice on the pitch.
The following year, Jim, top by Christmas, or just before Christmas, it was a great start to the life in the First Division. Up you stepped, you waltzed the Second Division into the First Division, which is the equivalent of the Premier League now for the youngsters watching. And I remember that run-up just before Christmas. I think we were top of the table. What was the key to the success?
Well, we were probably one of the best teams to get promoted for many years. You said we won by 15 points, which is, 7.5 games. Yeah. We had it won by Easter or whatever. So we were a good team. Now, Jack admits it now. If he would have replaced John Hickton, who was coming to the end of his career, and Bobby Murdoch was practically finished, if he would have replaced those two people with two good players, we could have won the league. You agree, John?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. But then the money then was he was spending his own money, Jack. Yeah. And Charlie Aim, I think, was the chairman, and obviously he had the purse strings in. But
and Jack, he kept them tight, Charlie, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Wouldn't spend unnecessarily.
Yeah. I mean, we did well. First time out there in the Premiership, the First Division.
So we finished 7th or something, 6th or 7th we finished with them.
7th.
Yeah.
7th, finished 7th that season. There was a bit of a slump, typical Middlesbrough. After New Year, down we go. But finished 7th. And comparisons to this day and age, because the guys now have just done exactly the same. They've come out of the Championship, they've gone into the Premiership. It's not been the best of starts for them. I'll be honest, I still think we're involved in a relegation battle if we don't start collecting points. But what's key to that, John, when you do step up? I mean, things must have been, you must have had thoughts in your own mind about, hey, we're going into the First Division. What was key to our success then?
Well, it was the excitement. You sort of lifted your game a little bit. And the majority of the players that got promotion it was basically the same team. And we tried, in the First Division, they didn't, like now, everything's on television, Premiership, Championship and such like. So teams can see how the other teams have played, where in those days, we weren't on the telly that much, or there was not much telly on, football on the telly. And we were a bit of a dark horse, if you like.
Unknown, yeah.
You know, and the first season we did quite well and then obviously they caught on to it, and it got a bit more difficult then.
I think the only TV at the time was Shoot, wasn't it, on Tyne Tees? Or did that come later? I remember Roger Thames and the like, hi Rog, Shoot. and Holgate and giving it the chance. We'll come back to the good old days. We'll talk about a little bit nearer to the present day very shortly. But high time we caught up with a guy who came after your time, local reporter Eric Paylor, Boro reporter for the Gazette for many years. I think it was Cliff Mitchell your time, wasn't it, gents? Yeah. But we popped across to Eric's house during the week, and we had a chat with him about his time and his passion about reporting on the Boro.
Well, Willie Madron was the boss at the time. I mean, the team was awful. The club had no money, 3,000, 4,000 gates. I mean, it was a dire situation. And the club was just hanging on, really, losing money hand over fist. And Willie Madron was doing his best, supported by David Mills at the time. It was a difficult time, but I really... One of the things at the time was that the local reporter travelled on the coach. You know, you could walk into the treatment room. You could see somebody laid out on the slab, so to speak, and say, "What's wrong with you?" And then he'd tell you, and then you'd go and see the manager and say, "I see Freddie Bloggs has got a bad knee," you know, and there's your story for the Gazette. And the money that's come into the game is just beyond belief, and obviously the vast majority of it goes into wages. So I mean, I understand how it's come to this, but I mean, at the time when I started, I think the players were earning £200 or £300 a week. You know, they weren't quite travelling to the matches on the bus like the fans were, but nobody had more than one car, and you know, you felt as though you were one of the lads when you were the local reporter. I know in the early days, I certainly there was the Evening Gazette, there was Radio Cleveland, there was the Northern Echo. There wasn't a lot of media interest in the club, so that's how you got very close. As things developed and success came along, more people wanted to know. The press box became bigger, and you know, there was more competition for stories. So the job did change in that respect. It was very easy to get stories when I first started. I mean, I can remember with Bruce Rioch, when they started training up at Durham for a while, you driving up there in horrendous weather conditions, the car all over the road on the ice, and one day he said, "Look, it's pointless you coming every day up here to get the story. What I'll do is I'll give you a week's load of stories."
Did it work?
Yeah, it did. So I'd go on a Monday and I might have a few ideas, and he'd have a few ideas of his own, and he'd say, "Paul Kerr, he's doing a hell of a job. We've discovered that he makes more passes in the game than anybody else." "Oh, thanks, Brooks, and good story." You know, so I'd come back on a Monday morning with 4 stories for the rest of the week.
I can't see that happening in the modern day, can you?
No, I can't. No, but Bruce was very certainly. Local media was important to him. It's difficult to say that's the case today, but it was very important to him, and it's fair to say he knew how to manipulate me and everybody else. But you know, you got the stories in the Gazette, and that's all that mattered.
Yes, I was sent out of the room with him holding my ear once because I asked
right?
the wrong question. Yeah, absolutely. You touch on Bruce there, but other managers that have been there that, you know, you've had good times, bad times. What do you remember?
Well, I've never really had a bad manager, I don't think. You know, I was talking to a guy who covered Newcastle the other day, and he was effing and blind about the managers and how difficult they've been. And I thought back and thought, well, I haven't really had a problem. The only one maybe that I didn't get close to was Steve McLaren. But having said that, you know, he did such a fantastic job that it didn't matter, because the success that he brought to the club created the stories anyway. And there are many occasions where, for example, Bruce Rioch was a master at it. You had some inkling that there'd been trouble on the training pitch. Two players had been punching each other, had lost tempers and whatever. And obviously it's a good story for a newspaper. But before you even said anything, you would walk in and he'd say, "Bye, we've had a real carry-on today." He said, Bertie Smith and Brian Jones, whatever, been fighting, punching each other, and it was terrible. We had to get in and pull them apart and everything. He said, "Man, you can't use that." And then he'd go off and give you a story, you know. So a totally different story that was still a good story from the club. for that night's Gazette. So it worked both ways, but it was an advantage to know what was going on, even the things you couldn't print, because it gave you a full picture of the club, and it helped you to be a better reporter in some respects, even though all the stories didn't go in at the time.
How about Gibbo? How about Steve? Did you have a working relationship with Steve?
Fantastic, yeah. I was very fortunate, really, to be around at the time of liquidation. I didn't really know Steve Gibson that well before liquidation. He was just a director. But immediately after liquidation, of course, he applied for control, got it, sacked all the other directors, and then he was a man on his own. And I was grateful for his support, but at the same time, I think he appreciated that he needed to let the fans know that there was hope, because if you read the national newspapers, everybody was saying the club's finished. The Football League was saying they've got to pay all this money off and they haven't got it, and they'll be going to the wall and all this sort of thing. And it was, if to be a Boro fan at the time, you would assume that the club's going to the wall if you only read.
Well, the Pools coupon didn't even put us on, did they?
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But fortunately, I got regular phone calls from Steve Gibson who said, despite what you read, I'm doing this, I've got support here. And I'm pleased to say that the Gazette was not only fully supportive of the club during that summer, but actually printed positive stories saying, listen, Steve Gibson's working hard, he's got support, the club can survive. And of course it did. And I was very grateful for what he did, but I think it worked both ways, and the club got the benefit as well. And of course, the way in which they rose quickly from the ashes afterwards was fantastic. It took Steve Gibson another 7 years to get total control, and look at the job he's done. Absolutely fantastic.
Eric Paylor there giving us an insight to his time as the Boro reporter, chief Boro reporter at what was then called the Evening Gazette, I think. It's the Gazette now, modern day technology and all, and changing names and brands. Fellas, Cliff Mitchell, we mentioned just before that, was your era of reporter. How did you get on with the local journals at the time? Ray Robertson, another one, of course. Jim, how did you get on with the guys?
Yeah, they travelled down on the bus with us, so we had to get on with them and they had to get on with us. Because if we had a bad match and they were talk to us on the bus, well, if you had a bad match and he came to talk to me, I'd tell him to talk to somebody else.
Do you get on okay with the lads, with the journalists, John?
Yeah. I mean, that particular season, everybody was on a high and everything, and everything seemed to be good. You know, it was just.
So most of the time you talk about good performances.
Yeah.
Makes it a bit easier, doesn't it? Time we caught up with some news here on RedArmy.tv. Here's Chris Story with the latest.
We start Red Army News with the visit of former Southampton defender Francis Benali to the Riverside Stadium. Met by former teammate Neil Maddison, Benali is in the middle of a 1,000-mile trek around all 44 Premier League and Championship clubs. Benali is running a marathon every day and biking the rest of the way as he hopes to raise £500,000 for Cancer Research UK. Adam Forshaw's taken the plaudits for the best start of any Boro player to the new Premier League season. The Gazette is running a Rate the Player poll where fans can mark each member of the squad. Forshaw leads with an average of 7.6, with defensive duo of Ben Gibson and Antonio Barragan the only other two players in the sevens. And finally, Premier League action is back this weekend as Boro welcome Watford to the Riverside. Secured matchday parking will again be available just 3 minutes walk from the stadium at the Navigation Pub car park. Stewards are on site and it's £5 to park, with season tickets available from Saturday costing just £70. Don't forget, if you have any news at all, you can drop it into us here. Email studio@redarmy.tv or via social media at Boro Red Army.
Thanks, Chris. Just to follow on or pick up from something we did last week here on RedArmy.tv, Joanna Grayson, thank you very much. She sent us in some video. We were dealing with West Ham and the aftermath of the trouble after the West Ham, the 1-1 draw at the London Stadium. Mr. Sullivan will be most upset. Thanks for this. Here, Joanna's pictures that she sent in showing What seems to be a bit of a problem at the stadium is it's a massive open area as fans come out. Huge open. It was an Olympic stadium and designed so people could wander and socialise and have a look round. And as you can see, this is the sort of effect it has with football fans. Interestingly, Karen Brady joining David Sullivan this week, saying really there was no big issue. There were only 5 arrests and one of them was for ticket touting. Looks like issues to me on the videos. And what do they see from the director's box? Fellas, it takes me back to the old original hooliganism days. Did you see much of that in the 70s in your playing day, John? Was it? I remember it from the 80s.
Yeah.
But 70s was there any of that?
No, not really. Nothing. There was nothing in the press. Put it that way.
Yeah.
You know.
Borough games. Jim, did you experience any?
Well, when I played at Millwall, they used to throw coins at you, used to hit you in the back of the leg.
Maybe they thought you needed a pay rise.
Yeah, I used to pick them up, but they were only 2 pences and they weren't pound coins. There were no pound coins in those days. They couldn't throw a pound note.
Well, it could make it into a paper
The
airplane.
Millwall fans,
No.
Millwall fans are terrible.
Yeah, but anyway, disgusting. Let's hope it all continues. Let's get on to some decent stuff, some proper football chat. The Borough's suffered of late with a porous defence. Jim, you were in the Gazette in the last few days, basically suggesting the criticism Valdez is facing at the moment is unwarranted. I mean, a great keeper who not so long ago was winning European trophies left, right and centre and World Cup performances and all that kind of thing. Can a keeper drop so rapidly in terms of performance, as we're seeing?
Well, first of all, he's playing in a new team and he's playing with different languages and that. When David De Gea came to Man United, he was poor his first season.
He was, you're right.
And he's probably one of the best goalkeepers in the league. It's interesting, when you keep so many clean sheets like Dimmy did the last 2 seasons, he gets a lot of credit, but we start letting goals in to blame the goalkeeper. Now, it's not all down to Valdez. I know definitely the goal against Stoke, which was his side of the goal from a free kick, I think he would admit it was his fault. If he doesn't, there's something wrong. But some of the other goals, they're blaming him because the fans like Dimmy, you see. And unless Valdez plays brilliant, he'll be at fault. And he hasn't been at fault for a lot of the goals. John,
I mean, is that fair? You have to be a bit crazy to be a member of the Goalkeepers
Well,
Union.
absolutely, yeah. You've got to be daft to be a keeper. But, be a foreign keeper as well. It's Britain or England always used to say they had the best keepers. You know, you had, the roll off your tongue, but I can't remember at the moment.
Yeah, Shilton, Clements.
Clements, and even before that. And then you see all these foreign keepers coming in now and punching the balls, and I know it's difficult with these newfangled balls that they're moving all over the place. But it's the same as the players, that influx of all the foreign players. It's just, you don't see many of the British players coming through.
Well, you're getting some support, Jim, from that piece. Size Insights has tweeted to say, Jim Platt is correct about Valdez. The problem is the longer Dimmy is left out, the higher his pedestal gets. Just while we're tweeting. Borough ranked top when it comes to tackles, won in the Premier League this season, 173. That was everything MFC. But straight on the back of that, not surprisingly, knowing Borough fans, Michael J. McNiff said, yeah, but they didn't fucking tackle Payet, did they? So thank you for that one. And I did say the Irish version of that word, which doesn't mean the same as the English version. What about this? John, I'm intrigued. I've been there, watching the games, 3 times now. I think it started with Seamus Coleman for Everton, then Son for Spurs, and we mentioned Payet for West Ham. Mazy little dribble, defender showing him inside, continues to go past a few more. Hey, look, I can see the goal, bang, thank you very much. How would you have dealt with something like that in your day?
Well, no, I mean, if you let somebody turn and run at you, you're on the hard card straight away, because you can't put a foot in or tackle, because if you slightly miss it, you could give a penalty away. So the whole idea now, because you can't tackle, is get close enough to stop him from turning with the ball, make him lay it off, and if he goes, well, you just stay with the runner. And then that's a simple way to do it.
How about your day, though? What would you have done if somebody had tried it?
Well, obviously you push him to your strength, which would be down the line for me, because I can push him down the line. He's not going towards goal or anything. And if he knocks the ball too far, you've got a chance to slide tackle and get the ball.
How would Big Stewie have dealt with it?
Well, he was more
6'2", eyes are
he
blue.
was more in the air. Yeah.
The player would have been in the air. Must have been nice to have the likes of Craggs and Bowman, Madron and Spraggan and the likes just sitting in front of you, Jim.
Sometimes.
Did it make it easier for you?
Yeah, the goalkeeper's only as good as the players in front of him. And we had a good defence. The game has changed dramatically from when we played, but it hasn't changed that much. If someone is attacking you, you push them wide because that's where the least danger is. But nowadays they push them inside and let them shoot, and that's a part of the game I can't understand. I know it's changed completely from when we played, the balls are lighter, etc. But it hasn't changed that much. As if somebody's attacking you down the line, John, you push him outside because from a goalkeeper's point of view, he's not going to score right there.
Exactly, yeah.
If you let him come inside when he pull up on the top corner.
Yeah.
Why do we? I mean, I can't get my head around it. Why would we let him come inside? What's the idea?
You suppose that if the way they're set up, they push him inside, so he's running into more players.
Yeah.
And hopefully he'll sort of give the ball away, or somebody else will take the ball off him.
I suppose a big
Simple as that, but again, if he's running at you, what do? If you're standing and he's running at you, you haven't got much chance if he knocks the ball one way.
I suppose people talk about it being less contact sport now, less
it
physical
is.
than it was, but also the art of, shall we say, simulation, diving, cheating has come in, Jim. Would you like to be a keeper nowadays with everybody going down if you blow on them?
I've said to people, the goalkeepers can't dive at anybody's feet now, because once you dive at somebody's feet, it's 9 times out of 10 it'll be a penalty, because they're so clever, they don't try to beat you. I mean, I think I only let one, Francis Lee at Manchester City one day took me on, and I went for the ball and he went over me. It was a penalty, but rather than that, when a goalkeeper dives at somebody's feet, he doesn't dive at people's feet, he dives for the ball. But 9 times out of 10, these people are so clever, they don't even go for the ball.
No, that's right. Yeah.
They get coached on going down now. Can you believe that? They get coached on circumventing the laws. Don't bring your arm up so far, because if it hits,
Listen, Dave, if you're a manager and you say to centre forward, if you're in the box, go down, and let the referee make a decision whether it's a penalty or not. Most times it makes a decision.
Did Big Jack tell anybody? Did Big Jack tell Hickey or Millsy or anybody like that to go down?
The only time Jack said something, if there was somebody broken through and you were running behind him,
Then you
get him down. Simple as that.
you pull him down.
You
Kick
take
him
his
down.
legs
Doesn't
away,
matter. Take him
you
out
get a
of
free
by the
kick.
neck.
Don't let him through in the goalkeeper, because the goalkeeper let it in.
Glad you said that, Jim, not me. We've got some questions for you from the viewers, from the Boro fans. We'll come into them in a bit, but I want to bring this into play if I can. It's the one of our own Brownlee T-shirts. John Craggs, Jim Platt, signed by the twosome on my right. We've got to give it away. Thanks for doing this, fellas. It was Juninho week. Oh, Boro fans, was it 21 years since he first appeared at the Riverside? I am old, because I remember being there reporting for radio on it. Have a listen to the song while we're talking. The question, we want you to come up with your own rendition of Juninho. Oh, you know the song, you can hear it now in the background. Give us your own rendition of Juninho. You're going to have to record it. You can do it on your phone. If you've got recording equipment, you can do it on that. Send us it in. We'd love to pick the best one. Whoever sends in the best version of Juninho, will get the shirt. Thanks for doing that, fellas. To the questions. Here we go. Could be embarrassing, this. And I haven't told the guys what it's about. John.
Yep.
From Bill Stroller. When you stopped playing footy, there were stories running round that you were considering going into professional golf. How good were you at the time? Did you try and make it? And if so, how far did you go? Was it true? Did you fancy being a professional golfer?
Yeah, but that was before I started in the professional game.
So it came before football.
Came before that, yeah. But I was down about 3, handicap of 3 at the time.
What are you now?
6.
Huge difference. Can you remind me never to play you? But I mean, golf. I remember in your playing days, golf was it was a major part of your life.
Well, it was. But the thing is, Wednesday was the last time we could play before a match on a Saturday. So really, I didn't get a chance to play a great deal.
And you was 3.
Yeah.
You were off 3.
Yeah.
One from me, Jim, because I want to put this one to bed or not. There's always this talk about when Boro signed you, Ballymena, wasn't it? It was Ballymena you came from. You were playing centre forward. Is it true, or is it one of those urban myths that...
No, somebody asked me the other day, we signed you as a centre forward, and I said, I hope not, because No, I was a goalkeeper.
Always a goalkeeper. Did you?
Always a goalkeeper,
So-
but I was a good outfield player as well.
And,
He's
right,
good in the
so
five-a-side. He's good in the five-a-side. Oh, yeah.
could he
he's
put the
brilliant.
ball away?
Oh, yeah. He mazy dribbles and everything.
Did
Yeah,
you show him outside? Did you keep showing
yeah
him
I
out?
just say, on you go, Jim.
I'd have been okay with a back pass, John.
Aye.
Nowadays,
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, fantastic. That's how painless the questions were. Don't worry. Thank you for them. Just looking ahead, Watford to come. Let's talk about the present very briefly before we finish. It's not been the best to start. We had an okay start, and then I think it dawned on people, when the 3 defeats back to back came, that we could start to struggle a bit. How important is it, John, that we get back to winning ways and Watford being the next game at home?
Yeah, it's important to get the winning ways, but if you only play one up front, he's on his own, isn't he?
Isolated.
He's not getting much support. So we were talking before, he needs 2 people up there, like Jordan and the other guy. I don't even know the names.
Negredo.
Yeah. Play both of them up there, and give the other teams a problem.
So it's a change in formation.
Yeah, I
Forget
think
this
so.
one up front where he gets isolated and stick somebody with him.
Because his ball just keeps coming back.
It's not the first time, or the second, or the
Yeah.
23rd time I've heard that.
Yeah.
Jim, what are your thoughts on the present situation?
Well, I think we've had a reasonable start, as much as we didn't expect to beat Spurs. I thought Stoke was going to be a hard match, although Stoke have turned out poor. But on the face of it, Stoke had a good season the last 2 or 3 seasons, so a draw was a good result. I thought we'd beat Sunderland because Sunderland are poor. I think we've got to look at who's going to be the 3 teams that are going to be below us. I agree with John, but at the moment we've got to score 2 goals to win any match because we've conceded a goal every match. How we're going to score 2 goals, I don't know.
So from men who obviously propped up the back in the 70s, your focus is up there. What's happening up front for the team currently?
Yeah, because we're letting in goals. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're letting a goal every game. So we have to score 2 to win, and I think we've only scored 2 once with Sunderland.
Well,
I think everybody scored against Sunderland. So
yes, and long may it continue. I didn't say that, but I did actually. John, Jim, thanks for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure having you in here, giving us some insights to what happened back in the 70s. And good luck on the 6 handicap. I hope you manage to, start reducing it to 5.
Yeah, I have to practice a bit more.
Yeah, I wish. Gents, thank you. Watford's up next. We'll keep our fingers crossed for that, and we'll catch you next week on RedArmy.tv. See ya.
Today I think the score's going to be 2-0. Broughton Ramirez, up the Boro.
Come on, boy, we can beat these Saturday.
Come on, lads, believe, come on!